This conference will now be recorded.
What is your field of study for your school, Mohammed?
Repeat it again. I'm not hearing you well.
What is your course, your degree? What is your education path?
I'm a student. I'm studying mechanical engineer, final year.
Okay.
So I get certified for SolidWorks. I get the high certification, CSWE.
Ooh.
I'm second Sudanese holding this certification. So I want to pursue this for my college and other to have a good opportunity like me.
Yep. Wow. That's great to have CSWE. That's a lot of work, by the way.
Yeah, I think so.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations. That really is because you have to do so many other certifications ahead of it, so you really need to make an investment. It's in your time and learning, and so that's great. My husband works for SolidWorks, and so 20 years he's been at SolidWorks, and so we've seen a lot of people get certified, and that's a big, industry wise, it's an honor to have that level. So good for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nisha, I'm very excited to be here today. We will start our meeting. Today our guest the DriveWorks. So we're gonna speak about different stuff about DriveWorks, about certification, about many stuff. So it's good opportunity to share knowledge with them. So our topic is gonna be how to automate your process on save time with DriveWorks Xpress. The topic is about DriveWorks resources available and skills you need for exams. They got also certification and driver certification. So our guest is Miss Heather Hasz from Boston, from United States. She is a brand and community ambassador. Oops. Okay, let me. Yeah. She's worked at DriveWorks. And after that, we set like a competition for design. So we're gonna announce the winner, and after that, we're gonna have like a question. If somebody has a question, so we'll make you presenter in order.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I didn't see the presenter thing come up yet, so.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you so much. I think one of the things we've all learned over the last couple of years is when you're live, anything can happen, right? Whether it's technology or you're muted or otherwise. And so if you can all see my screen, that's great. I'll try to keep, and thank you, Mohammed, for the introduction. We're certainly excited to present for you folks. And I know initially my colleague Bridie was going to be the presenter, and she ended up with a schedule conflict and asked if I could attend in her absence, which I'm more than happy to do. So just a little bit quick about me and who I am. As Mohammed said, my name is Heather Hasz, and I work for DriveWorks. And I'm based just outside of Boston in the United States. So I'm a few hours behind you, which means you folks are just closer to your happy hour than I am. I still have to work for most of my day today before my weekend starts. But my role with the team here in North America is I do act as the brand and community ambassador. Just a couple of photos because I like to show off my team a little bit. DriveWorks is a company that's based outside of Manchester, UK. And so I came onto the team about 5.5 years ago as their first and only American employee. And what I do for them here in North America is I represent DriveWorks at a lot of SolidWorks events, at a lot of user group meetings, and just discuss with customers, meet up with customers around the country and talk all things DriveWorks. And so I came onto the team about 5.5 years ago. Before that, I worked for SolidWorks for about 10 years. So we are certainly no stranger to the community. And a lot of what I do is interact with the SolidWorks user groups, mostly in North America, but now over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to interact with so many of you around the world, because while COVID and the pandemic have kept us from traveling, it's opened up the opportunity for me to be able to be in touch with user groups virtually that I would never quite be able to travel to, given where I'm based here in America. So this is just a quick photo of my team in the UK with our DriveWorks dog there, Ruby, at the bottom. Again, my husband and I, he's at SolidWorks now for a little over 20 years, so we're very invested in the community. This is just another photo of my team. Again, great team in the UK. It's about 50 of us. And we eat, sleep, and breathe all things DriveWorks. So, and we'll get into what DriveWorks is as a software tool. Some of you may already be familiar with it, but we'll get into that in just a few minutes. So the work that we've done with the SWUG, and I know that this is your third meeting as a user group. We got involved as a sponsor to SWUG about 5 or 6 years ago. Our software has been inside of SolidWorks for almost 20 years. And so our DriveWorksXpress software. But we've been involved with the SWUG just to try to help support the community. My team are a bunch of SolidWorks power users themselves. And so it just was a natural fit for us to get involved with supporting the user groups to provide technical content, resources for further education. We're very involved in working with younger people to give them additional skill sets. And again, just a couple of photos of the last couple of years, tons of virtual meetings that we've been a part of. My team, whether I'm in Houston, Texas one night, in England the next day, again, virtual platforms have given us that opportunity to be in one place or another based upon where the community is looking for support. So one of the things that we've done, now I'll be speaking to you a lot about DriveWorks and some of you for the first time today, but we actually launched our own user group network about a year ago, and it's for our customers. And so it's more of a value add for customers that are using DriveWorks. And it's called DriveWorks Drivers. And it really was a nod to what the SolidWorks user groups have been doing for so many years, which is supporting the community, providing learning resources and opportunities to network together and share. Where you folks talk more about SolidWorks and other tools, we talk a lot about what our customers are using DriveWorks for. So let's talk about DriveWorks. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat over here, but if you have any questions and you want to just type them in, I'll try to take a look at them. But if not, I'll get to them at the end. And so I didn't want to really get distracted. I wanted to use our time together wisely and not get distracted with too many other things. But feel free to type anything, any questions in the chat, and I promise I will get to them in one way, shape, or form. So DriveWorks as a software solution. What our software does is it allows you to automate a lot of your design data that's repetitive. So if you are either learning SolidWorks right now, or you work in industry right now with SolidWorks, and your demand on design has you opening files and making modifications and resaving them and regenerating drawings on things that might be the same but different, our solution might help automate some of that for you and allow you to spend your time in other areas of your business. So if you design a widget and that just changes size, maybe it changes dimensions or properties every time there's a new demand by the customer or by the business, our solution might be able to help you. So inside of SolidWorks, there already exists a free version of our software called DriveWorks Express. And that's what we're going to talk about today, primarily because you all already own that. If you have a license of SolidWorks, whether it's education, standard, premium, or professional, it sits inside of all seats of SolidWorks, and it's there for you to have a go. We're going to walk through a really quick project together just to give you an idea of what that solution can do. We're going to take a part. I'm just going to work with a simple part today, again, to save a little bit of time for us to talk about certifications and other stuff. There are two other solutions that we have. We have 3 gold integrated products with SolidWorks. So there's DriveWorks Express, which you all already own. And then there's DriveWorks Solo. That has additional capabilities. So when we start looking at DriveWorks Express together, a lot of things that we might start to discuss might be things that are more in Solo or in DriveWorks Pro, which is our premium solution. And both DriveWorks Solo and DriveWorks Pro are paid solutions that you would work with your reseller on to purchase. But again, today we're going to speak about the free product that sits inside of your seat of SolidWorks that's totally available for you to use for some of the design work that you're already doing. So we're going to take a look at that in a moment. For anyone here that is using SolidWorks 2015 and on, I would hope maybe nobody's here using anything earlier than 2015, but in order to activate DriveWorks Express inside of your license of SolidWorks, you just have to go over to the My SolidWorks area of the SolidWorks website to activate it. And SolidWorks did that for all of their Express tools, again, right around the 2015 release. And so if we were all together, I would be handing out these fun beer mats, because on the back of them, as you'll see in this image, it gives you some really simple steps in how to activate the solution. So we'll go into SolidWorks in a moment. I already have DriveWorks Express activated on my machine, but if you were to activate it for the very first time, I believe on the educational seats, it might already be activated for you, but when you go to activate the product, it will simply take you to the My SolidWorks website, which every customer on subscription has basic access to. You would put in your SolidWorks license code, and it would just give you back an activation code, and you would be up and running at that point. And again, SolidWorks did that for all of the Express solutions that sit inside of SolidWorks. And I'm sure it was for them to keep track of who was using what solutions, but also by directing people over to the My SolidWorks website. If you haven't been there before, it's got a lot of great resources, a lot of tutorials, a lot of different resources for you as a SolidWorks customer. So probably just a nice way to get people to be familiar with that area as well. So today we are going to walk through a really simple part in DriveWorks Express. We're going to capture a product. We're going to basically go through 4 simple steps together. And by filling out a form, we're going to be able to create new variations of the part. It can also do assemblies. We're not going to do an assembly today just based on time constraints, but it can do parts and assemblies, but it can also drive a drawing. And so when you start thinking about new configurations and new designs, some of you may be familiar with design tables, which is a great solution, and configurations. But what DriveWorks will do is it will create a brand new part file for you, and it will drive your existing drawing. So you'll be able to see a little bit of that in a minute when we go through a quick demo together. So what we're going to do is we're going to capture a part, and simply by filling out the form, you can see here with this little scissor lift, this image. We're not going to do this scissor lift today, but this is just a project inside of DriveWorks Express. And there's a form to the right on the screen inside of SolidWorks. As a gold product, our solution sits completely inside of SolidWorks. Any gold product, if you're working with any of them or will work with them down the road, they have to be sitting inside of SolidWorks for that single window integration. So you'll see it on the right here. We'll see it in SolidWorks in a few moments. We're going to build a form. We're going to build some rules into that. And by filling out that form, you see that we've been able to create 4 different versions of that scissor lift in minutes using DriveWorks Express, where in the past or in your current design work, you may have had to open up the assembly, make those changes, resave it, regenerative drawing. DriveWorks Express does that in minutes after you take some time to set up the drawing. So if you're working on larger assemblies and maybe think that it's not the right solution, you can use DriveWorks Express to automate perhaps just a small section of it. So when you see this robotic arm, the machine guard around it, we simply built a really simple project to be able to control that guard. It's just going to change the dimensions based upon what it is, and you can change materials as well. So we're going to go through 4 really simple steps for automating SolidWorks with DriveWorks Express. The first step that we are going to do together is we're going to capture the design parameters. So we're going to be working with a magazine rack, a really simple sheet metal part, and we're going to capture the areas that we want to reconfigure in DriveWorks, the areas that are going to be changing. The second part is we're going to be creating a really simple input form together. After that, we're going to build some rules. If anybody's familiar with rules writing, it's very much based on an Excel model. We'll be writing in some logic rules and some simple rules in DriveWorks Express. So after we've captured the design, created our form, and wrote some rules, we're going to go ahead and put some inputs into those forms, and we're going to run the project together. And I will do a live demo just for the sake of walking through some of the steps that I like to do. So today I'm going to do a magazine rack, but there are tons of industry examples on our website. So if you want to quickly capture this website address, it's driveworksexpress.com. You can download sample projects. You can look at other industry examples. There's a ton of materials out there that are available for anyone that wants to have a look at them. We're going to talk about rules building. And if you're interested, at the end of the presentation, I will also have my email address up. But if you're interested in rules writing, if it's something that does interest you, if you're going to go down the path of looking at getting your certification in DriveWorks, which we're going to talk about in just 1 minute, you can send an email to info@driveworks.co.uk, or you can grab my email address at the end of the presentation, and I'm happy to send it to you. It's a simple PDF document. It used to be a book. My storage area in my home used to have dozens of books, but now we've created it as a PDF because it's a little bit easier to send to all different parts of the world you could imagine over the last couple of years. So let's talk a little bit about the DriveWorks Express training and certification. Mohammed had talked a little bit earlier about that, and perhaps there might be some of you that might still be in university or looking to continue your education. We built a certification program about 3 years ago. Because our software sits inside of SolidWorks, and SolidWorks already has a very successful certification program, we built a certification program around DriveWorks Express because it complements any CAD certification that you would have. A lot of what our software does is builds on the functionality of SolidWorks, and so it's a free certification. It allows you to add different skill sets to your resume. It gives you that competitive edge. And so I created a QR code. If you want to grab that, I'll certainly be available to give some of this information at the end of the presentation as well. I can paste a couple of links into the chat on how to get to this, but it's a few steps to taking the certification. It's free. By the way, I do have to mention that. I want to make sure that you all know it's a free solution. It's a free certification for you to take the opportunity to work through. It took me, now I have a marketing degree, admittedly, I'm not an engineer by education, and I worked through the certification and I was able to become a certified DriveWorks Express associate myself. I do have some baseline familiarity with SolidWorks, and so I think there's no prerequisite to taking this certification, but if you have some entry level knowledge of SolidWorks, how to work around in it, how to download files and work in the interface, sometimes people are comfortable at the CSWA level to take this certification. But again, I'm not CSWA. I just had some basic familiarity and comfort on working in the product. This is just a couple of examples of some groups that have gone through the certification. A couple of members of my team have taught in different parts of the UK and some of the universities. The photo in the middle is actually here in the US. It was at the high school level, so that would be 12th grade. I'm not sure how your education is organized there, but that's about 17, 18 years old. And that is the Certified DriveWorks Express Associate. And then we do some training, some in-person trainings around the world. So as a matter of fact, the young woman in the middle picture was the first female at the high school level to get her certification in the world. So we celebrated that a little bit with her. So because we do a lot to promote young women in STEM, anyone in STEM, but certainly younger women, directing them into STEM careers is super important. So so if you go through the DriveWorks Express certification, and again, we'll go through a part together, there's actually a free solo certification that we launched as well. So where DriveWorks Express is the free license and that you can take access to, DriveWorks Solo is that second tier of software that we offer, but we do offer a solo training and certification as well. And this was really customer driven. Our customers that are out there that are using DriveWorks, that have SolidWorks as their CAD platform, making it easier for them to hire DriveWorks people, giving them additional skill sets. The Express certification really does give you the baseline for DriveWorks and all the terminology and the technology, but the solo certification is that next tier. And there is a free 30-day trial. So if anybody wanted to, if you worked through, you don't have to have the Express certification to go right into the solo certification. But again, I created a quick QR code for anyone that wants to have a look at it. Again, it's about a 3-hour process between tutorial and certification. The solo software, there is a free 30-day trial download. So if anybody wanted to have a go at it and at least get that certification, again, to add to your education or your resume or what you're doing right now, it is available through the website. I'm not sure, Mohammed, do you know, and feel free to unmute yourself, are you familiar with First Robotics? Is that available where you are? Anybody?
I'm easier, yeah.
Hi. Have you heard of First Robotics? Is that available over there?
Yeah, I got like my friend Mohammed here. He is participating in that.
Okay, so we became, I just wanted to ask because I wasn't sure in different parts of the world where it was available. We became a First Robotics sponsor about 2 years ago. And so what we did was, SolidWorks is such a large sponsor to First Robotics. We identified, again, an educational opportunity to be able to work with the students that are working in First Robotics. So what we've done is we've offered, we're an official sponsor with First Robotics. We're actually listed in their virtual kit of parts, and teams can request a free 12-month license of DriveWorks Solo. So if there's anybody here that's either involved in First Robotics or knows someone, maybe you're a mentor, maybe you're curious about getting involved in that level of robotics competition, that's at the high school level more so. There is the opportunity for those teams to get a license of Solo, again, to help build the students, their CAD skills up to complement SolidWorks. And so we do have a ton of resources, and the email address, if there is anyone interested or otherwise, is first@driveworks.co.uk. And so we are going to jump, oops, I'm sorry.
No problem. Actually, we have participated in first global challenge in last July, and the competition ended in 29 of September.
That's great.
In the next year, the competition begin again, and we'll reuse it.
That's great. Yeah. And so if your team is interested, feel free to send an email over. Again, I can send on some links. I can post some stuff into the chat when I'm done talking, but there's certainly, let me just put that email address in here again, because if your team is interested and they're using SolidWorks in their robotics design, there's definitely resources available for your team to start learning DriveWorks if it's an interest. You know, if you want to have someone on the team, if you have a strong CAD team, to be able to take advantage of it. Again, it's free skills building. You know, at that student level, we are huge around student skill building and, you know, helping younger people get jobs. It's kind of a passion of ours. We have a really great educational placement program in our offices in the UK. So so thank you for that, and feel free to follow up with me on any other questions too. I'll have my email at the end. So we're going to jump right in, and we are going to start to do a demo. But before I close this PowerPoint, just so I don't just so I don't have to go back and forth again, because I don't like to do that. It's kind of wonky. Connect with us. We actually have a really active social media community. So we're listed on Facebook. We're fairly active on Twitter. DriveWorks has a Twitter account as well as I do. I'm Heather DriveWorks, I think. Our YouTube channel, there's a ton. I think that we're learning in such a hybrid environment lately. We have DriveWorks has a YouTube channel with a ton of tutorials on it, and as well as LinkedIn and Instagram. We actually got a lot of student feedback that putting some things out on Instagram. I have a daughter who's 23, and she would never dream of using Facebook anymore because that's for old people, I guess, like me, I suppose. But so we started putting out some content on Instagram for people to get some tips and tricks or to learn about different things that we're doing. So we are definitely out there. And again, I'm going to just quickly type in my email address here just so I don't forget. If you want that little book of rules, or if you have any follow-up questions. So I'm going to just jump right into SolidWorks. I have SolidWorks open. Let me just give the Goto meeting a chance to catch up with me. Okay, so what I've done at this point is I have already, let me just close out my apologies. I just want to close out my multiple screens here so I don't have anything lock up on me. Stand by. There we go. All right. So I have SolidWorks open already on my machine. And again, in the interest of time, I've already opened up the part that we are going to be working with. And again, this is just a really simple one part. It's a magazine rack. It's a sheet metal part. And what I have here, this is the master model that we're going to be working with. I have DriveWorksXpress open on the right. Now, earlier I talked about where you might activate it. And just really quickly to show you where it's located, you go up into the tools bar here, the tools menu, and where there's Express products, you'll see that there's DriveWorksXpress, DFMXpress, SimXpress, FlowXpress. I already have DriveWorksXpress activated on my machine, so I'm just running it. But again, for any of those parts, you're going to want to go. It will take you over to my SolidWorks to activate them. And again, I'm pretty sure if it's an educational seat, they may already be activated. But if not, it's a really simple activation for you. So we talked about going through 4 steps. And the first step, and I'd already done some of this, again, in the interest of timing and to kind of just talk and show you at the same time. I will be doing my fair share of typing, but I wanted to just show you the first step we have here in our tool, in our area here, our DriveWorks project that's sitting here on the right, is we want to go through and we want to capture the parts of the areas, the dimensions and features on this part that we want to drive in our DriveWorks project. So these are the areas that are going to change dimension or configuration based upon what the customer need is, what the order might look like. We'll talk about it as fictional, like I'm designing magazine racks. I'm a product designer for a magazine rack company. And so I have this part, and you'll see it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots for the magazines to rest in. It's got a name up at the top. These are the things that I want to capture into my DriveWorks project, because these are the things that are just going to change, maybe the height, the width, how many slots are here, and the name on the top. So what I've done is I've gone over into my tree here and I've selected. So The one part, the one area is I wanted to capture this feature of the name. And so I had gone over here and I captured the feature, and you'll see down here, SolidWorks will give it an address, but DriveWorks allows you to give it its own name as well. So what I've done is I've captured this text as a feature, because that's going to change. I want to capture the feature, but I'm going to be able to change what the name is on that. And then I went through and I captured some of the dimensions on this. So you'll see I captured the depth of the magazine rack, I captured the width of it, and I captured the quantity of the magazine slots that are here. And so I had a simple macro built by my team. It's showing me that there's 5 slots, and I've been able to capture that. And again, SolidWorks is going to give me this address here, but I've just simply called it quantity. You can call them whatever you want based upon your design work. And so I've captured my features that I want to drive that are going to change in my part. But what I also want to do is I want to go in and capture some of the custom properties associated with this model. So again, I captured the customer, the etching on the top, the drawing. So I'm going to be able to capture one of the things that DriveWorks, and again, at the Express level, can do is it can drive a brand new drawing for you automatically as long as you've captured it in the project. So you have to have an existing drawing, but you can capture it, and I'll show you that in just one second. So we're going to be able to customize some of these custom properties in DriveWorks. So I've just chosen a few of them to give you a quick example. So down here at the bottom, it has drawings. So if you have a drawing, you can add that drawing into your project. And again, it will drive the brand new part as a file, not as a new configuration, but it's going to create a brand new file for you as well as a brand new drawing. And we'll walk through that together because I want you to see that. And that is one thing that, you know, again, if you like design tables and configurations, that's great. And for a lot of people that works. This just gives you that little bit of an extra, a little more of an experience where you get the brand new part files as well as drawings. And that tends to be an aha moment. And again, you already own it as part of your seat of SolidWorks. So you might as well have a go with it and see if it can help you out. So we've captured our features and dimensions. We've captured the custom properties, and we've captured the drawing that we want just from this really simple part. So the next step, we talked about capture. Now we're going to start to build a form. So the form functionality in DriveWorks Express is really super basic. Again, it's an Express product and it's a complete product, but we couldn't make too much inside the product because it had to sit inside of SolidWorks. And so our other products certainly have more advanced form functions, and I'm certainly happy to show you a couple of examples of what the premium product can do, because those could be pretty dynamic forms with images and everything else. But the forms in Express are simple, but they do get the job done. So what we're going to do is now I need to build a form that we're going to fill out to be able to put our inputs in to create this new part. So what I've done is I've already started to build the form, and I'm going to need to type and talk for a few minutes, but you know what? I'm a mom of 3 kids, so I can pretty much do multiple tasks at once for the most part, and hopefully keep up with any questions or otherwise. So I'm going to just show you different examples of how you can build a form in DriveWorks. So I've already created a form field for the order number. That was one of those custom properties that we had for the customer. But now, so to the right here, I can add. I'm going to just start adding form fields to my form here as we build out the project. I can edit them too. If I want to make a mistake, I can go through and delete them. And then we can also take a look at it too. And I'll show you that in just a second. Let me just add a few other fields here. So you can have different formats on your form. So I used a text box for the order number and the customer name. But now I just want to show you a little bit more. So we had captured that name at the top of our model here where it reads DriveWorks. Because it's a feature, I'm going to be able to have whether or not I want it at the top or not. And so I'm going to just call that name required. And we have a checkbox. I'm going to create a really simple checkbox for that. And then I'm just going to keep adding. So I'm going to type for a minute just so I don't lose track. and it's going to be the name. So if the checkbox is checked for name required, I'm going to have a field right below it for the name that I want to put in there. And so now you can see I'm starting to build these out, and I'll show you a simple view of it in one moment. But then we can start to get into, I had captured that quantity of magazines. And again, you can call these form fields anything you want as far as how you're working in things. And so this is going to be a spin button. So again, there's different options here. When you start working in DriveWorks, whether it's Express, Solo, or Pro, there's a lot that we've put into the tool to help guide you along the way. So we're going to create a spin button where we're going to be able to define how many slots we want for this magazine rack, but we can define what those values are going to be. So when I create this spin button format, it's now going to prompt me, and you can see the callouts over here. I need to add values in. So again, it's going to give you some cues on what you need to go through. So minimum value, I'm going to say 1. So at the minimum, we're going to want 1 slot. At the maximum, say we do 10. And as you can see, as I put those values in, those callouts go away. And I'm going to have it go up in increments of 1. So now what you'll be able to see, and now I'll show you, if I look at the test of this form, you'll be able to see the order number that I had put in, customer, name required, name, and then that spin button right here, quantity of magazines. And if I hover over it, it'll say select a value for the magazines between 1 and 10 in steps of 1. So what I'm doing is I'm creating these values on the back end that when I go in to fill the form out, you'll be able to see. I won't be able to go outside of that minimum 1, maximum 10. If I type in 11 for quantity of magazines, it's not going to accept that because I've put the minimum and maximum value in there. So we'll see that in a minute. So let me go back in, and we're going to do a numeric text box. Now we're just going to get into some of the dimensions here. So I'm just going to go through these again. Because I use a numeric text box for depth, it's asking me for those values. And so I'm going to need to go in and I'm going to do 150, and I'm going to do 250. So because I did minimum maximum, those callouts went away, and now I can create that. And I'm going to just go through and do, this one's going to be width. And again, it's going to be another numeric text box because again, I want these inputs and I'm going to control them 200 to 500. And I like to go through this not as a pre-recorded video because I do want to show you. And to be honest, I want to have a little opportunity to make some mistakes so I can show you. We all make mistakes, right? And sometimes I get into typing something and I mistype a rule or something. And so it's always good to see. So now I've done all of these, and remember we captured that drawing. And so I'm going to actually be able to say who designed it. So I'm going to leave designer name, and I'm going to be able to do a drop down here. And again, it's giving me a call out. So it's telling me I need to put some names in. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do Mohammed. I'm going to do my daughter's name. Let's just do that for fun. And we'll do my husband's name. So now what I've done is I've created a drop-down menu as well. So let's just take a quick look at the form that we've now built. So what you can see is order number. These are text boxes. That was our checkbox, our spin button with our values, our depth that has our values, and then that designer name that I just created. And I simply just did a shift enter. You could do a pipe bar, anything to make those separations here. But now I have this little drop down. So now we've built our form. So we've gone through and we've captured everything together. We've created the form. And so now comes the part, and this is kind of the technology behind DriveWorks. This is the rules part. This is what's going to drive DriveWorks and tell it what to do with that CAD model. So we're going to quickly just walk through some of these rules together. I'm going to go through them a little bit slower. You guys are very seasoned in CAD. You'd be able to go through a little bit quicker with all of this, but it's important for me to show you what I'm doing, especially if you want to go through the certification, because I think the certification is a shelving unit and it's a little bit more involved, but again, kind of seeing the concepts here is probably going to be helpful for you as you start to prep to go through the tutorial and certification. So DriveWorks allows you to create a file name rule. And so when I talked earlier about DriveWorks creating a brand new file, I'm going to be able to create a file name rule that every time DriveWorks creates a new CAD model in SolidWorks, it's going to give it a name, and we're going to be able to tell it what that name can be, so you can find it, so you can keep track of your inventory. But quickly, just a little view at this this dashboard right here. This just tells you where you're missing rules. So where I had captured that one feature, I'm missing a feature rule. Assuming you guys can see my screen well enough, these missing numbers are in red. Again, another indicator from DriveWorks telling you, you have forgotten something, you need to do these things are missing. So we're going to just dive right in, and I'm going to create a file name rule. So when you want to go in and edit, you just want to click on the edit button here for this where there's the missing rule, and you want to go in to edit it. So now I'm given, it shows me where all my missing rules are for the file name. So I'm going to click on this, and again, far more comprehensive in some of the tutorials. You'll be able to see a little bit more of a complex part or assembly, but for here I just have one that I'm going to build for a file name rule. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to either click the build button, which will open up the rule builder, or you can also double click on it. So two paths. I tend to kind of double click, but you could click either build or double click. Excuse me. So I'm going to just start to build. So this is the rules builder. And again, I'm happy to send along any of the rules stuff at the after our meeting today if you want. So I'm going to start typing in this rules builder. And what you're going to see is, once again, as soon as I start to type, the screen's going to turn red or orange or however it looks on your screen over there. That's now telling me that my rule's not done, it's invalid, or I've made a mistake. It's going to give me color cues as I'm typing, and you'll be able to see kind of things come together. I want my file name rule to drive the new part based upon the order number and the customer name. And again, you can learn a lot more about rules building with some of our tutorials, but I'm just going to start typing. So I want my rule to be built based upon order number and I'm putting in some quotes. So again, it's going red and white. So I want it to be built on order number and customer name, and we'll be able to look at that together when we run our project. So I've built my file name rule, and because the screen is no longer red where it was red here, now that I'm finished, the screen has turned back to white, and so that shows that the rule is correct. I've gone in, I've built that rule. I go back to the summary, and I can see now I'm no longer missing my file name rule. I can move on. So I'm just going to go through and build some of these, and I'll speak to them a little bit. I need to go in those 5 custom properties that we chose. It was customer name, etching, order number. I'm going to go in and I'm going to build some of those rules for right now. So we have 5 rules to build. So the first one I'm going to go in and do is the customer. Some of these are going to be really simple inputs, and so just for the sake of timing. So on the form, the input that I want it to line up with is just going to be customer. So the input on the form is going to line up with the customer custom property. I'm going to skip over the etching one for just a minute because I just want to sneak over and do the drawn by. That one, again, really simple. That's going to be done by designer name. Again, the input on the form was designer name and the custom property was drawn by. I just want to match them up. And this is where you can say whatever you want on your forms as long as it matches up to what the custom property was named as. So now I'm going to do order number. And again, that's a really simple one that's going to be driven by the order number. Now I'm going to go back to the customer etching one. So what I want to do is I'm going to build a rule that if the name is required, then I'm going to be told I need to put a name into the form. And so this is going to be built on a little bit more logic. And again, very Excel, logic-based things. It's going to be an if rule. So, oops, let me get rid of, there we go. So I'm going to start, and it's going to be if. So one of the things I can show you is there's a couple of little cheats here they have, and some of the on the logic drop down, it shows you some of the more common logic statements that you can use that are used in DriveWorks. So you could either grab this to start to build out your rule, or you could just start to type it. So the rule is going to be if name is required, equals true. It's going to be basically a true false thing. Then it's going to grab the name. So we're going to be able to control this with our checkbox. And so if the name is required, so I'm going to have a feature rule that if that checkbox is checked that we had built into our form, it's going to go grab the name and make sure that name gets put up on the top of the part for us. So that was a really simple logic-based rule. And then the total height. So earlier on here, when I had captured these magazine slots, my team built a little macro for me to have this kind of calculated on the back end. But what I'm going to be able to do now is kind of use that to determine the total height of my part. And so I'm going to be building a rule for total height based upon the number of magazine slots and a little bit of measurement at the top of the header for where the name is. And so it's going to be, again, it's going to be a little bit more. It's going to be, the input is going to be the quantity of magazines. So however many slots I had. So if it was 2, 3, 4, whatever I put in that form. And then it's going to be multiplied by 120, and it's millimeters, because my team is British and they built it in millimeters for me, plus 75, because 75 millimeters is what's on the top there. So what we have is we have this quantity of magazines times 125. So that's going to calculate out the height plus a little extra on the top for where we want that name to go. So there's our rule for how we're going to determine total height. And again, the book that's all about rules, it was built by it was written by one of the original guys that works for DriveWorks. And I always love to call him out. His name is Ian Yates. He was like employee number 3 after the founders. And he started it just by writing some simple rules in a notebook that he was learning as he was writing the software. And it's turned into this little book of rules that's become quite famous in the community. And so anyway, it's a really helpful desktop resource for you. So we've built our custom property rules. Now you can see I'm no longer missing them. Let's go in and just quickly build some rules around those 3 dimensions. We had done depth, width, and quantity. And so what I want to do is I'm just going to go in quickly. The depth, of course, is going to be driven by the input we put in there from the form. Again, remember we had the form inputs. Width is going to be driven by width. And quantity is going to be driven by quantity. So those were just really quick. And now the one final rule we have is that feature. When we capture this DriveWorks, the text at the top of the model as a feature, what I want to do now is I'm going to create a rule that says whether or not it's going to be there. And so if it's there, we need to put a name in. If I don't want it up at the top, I just want this space to end up being blank. And I learned this the hard way, by the way, because I had been coming up with these mistakes every time I showed this part demo that I was getting an error, and I realized I was leaving out this feature rule, so I had to add it in. So we're going to go in again. A lot of times we learn by doing. One of the very first times I ever did a demonstration of DriveWorks Express, the president of DriveWorks was in the back of the room, and I kept making the same mistake, but it was great because it gave the group an opportunity to help me problem solve. And so while I didn't mean to make the mistake, it worked out in my favor because it was actually a teaching moment. So I got a little props for that. So we are going to create an if rule for this as well, because what we want to say is if the feature is there, it needs to grab the name. If it's not, it needs to just simply be gone. So I'm just going to type a little bit. Sorry, it's going to be if. And again, the screen's turned red because I'm typing at this point. If name required is true, it's going to be suppressed. I'm sorry, unsuppressed. Sorry, there's my. If it's not required, I just want to delete the opportunity for that space to be up there, because what was happening is I was getting this error and this gunk stuff at the top of the part earlier, and so I had to go in and create this rule. So if the name is required, unsuppress that area, let the text go in. If it's not required, just delete that whole space. And so I've created that rule for this feature at this point. When I go back into this rules builder area, I no longer have any missing rules. So now we've gone through, we've captured our features, dimensions, properties, drawings, we've created our form, we've built our rules. Now we get to go over and we get to run the project. So if I've done my job correctly, folks, this will work. No, it will work because we've gone through it all together and we've not seen any errors. Of course, you never know if you missed something that wasn't flagged as an error, but let's just start. We'll go through, let's just do 2021 as our order number. And let's just say the customer is SennarSWUG, name required. We're just going to put Mohammed's name on the top of the magazine rack because he's my gracious host for the meeting today. And let's put in 7 slots here. So again, just to show you a bit of an example, I can't go above 10. It just won't let me. So we'll just keep it at 7 for today. And because on the depths and the width, I put in background values, I have to put those values in between 150 and 250. So if I tried to type in 300, it's not going to accept it. It's actually going to say you need to put in the right value here. So let's go do 200 here. Let's do 250 here. We'll make it a bit wider. And I'm going to make it so I'm the designer. So I have filled out all the form fields, name required. Again, that was that feature. It's going to pull this name and we are going to hit create. So now, where we all took a little bit of time to build this project together, DriveWorks is now going into SolidWorks. It's taking everything we've told DriveWorks to do with SolidWorks, and it's rebuilding this model right now. So give me 1 second because I see, there we go. So we're building things quickly inside of DriveWorks Express. And when you see the green arrows across the board, it's taking our original model, as you can see here with the drawing, and it's going to make those updates to the drawing as well. So again, really cool opportunity for you to save a little bit of time on your daily designs, especially if some of your design is repetitive. The software is already there inside of SolidWorks. It's there for you to use. It's taking that original part, it's making all of those changes, it's creating the new part, and when it's done, I'm just going to show it one more time just so you can see it. But see how you can see the drawing at the bottom, SennarSWUG, magazine rack, 7 magazines. There's our new magazine rack for Mohammed. So we have that. But let's go in and just do a second one because now we've done this already, right? So let's do 2021-02. And let's just say it's Heather Hasz. I like the name at the top. We can do one without, but let's just, for the sake of, let's just have 2 magazine racks and let's make it like super deep and a little bit chubby. Let's make it look that way. And we'll have Mohammed. Again, really quick now. Now that we've built that original project, it's already built. You just keep going in and making those changes in the form. And in minutes, you're getting a brand new part generated as well as a drawing. So again, a little bit of time up front. Whoa, there's the magazine rack again. And just as a point of order, it's going back to the original model. So it's always going to go back. I need to fix this, by the way. This shows up every once in a while. It gets a little crowded on my drawing here, but I think I just need to work with my tech team on that. There's something happening on the back end there, but it goes back to the original rack that we started with. It doesn't go to the one we made for Mohammed. It's always going to go back to that primary model that we started from. And so, and then just for grins, yeah, we'll just do it one more time. Let's do 2021-03. Who else do we have here? I can't really see names here in the meeting, but let's just call it. Let's just do SolidWorks. Let's not do a name. And actually, I made this a required field by mistake, but If it doesn't have the check mark here, it's not going to put the name, so we'll just do that anyway, just for 300. And let's do my daughter who drew it, and we're just going to do a really quick version of this without any without a name on the top. Again, it's going back to that original model. There we go. So there's no name at the top. So what I've done is I've suppressed the name area, and I've gone ahead. It's going to go back again to do that drawing. It's going to take the original drawing and make the changes. We deleted that feature at the top because we did not want it. And once it's done, I'm just going to very quickly show you the multiple versions. Again, you get a brand new drawing. It's got the details at the bottom, drawn by Abbey. It's got the customer name. I'm getting a little bit of an error over here, but it's not, it's coming up. The project is running just fine. So quickly, I just want to show you where we had created that file name rule, just as a point of order for you. This was the first one we did for Mohammed, and you'll see the file name because it's created brand new files for each one of those racks. It's not a configuration. You can literally go save these and have these parts. It was the order number, which was 2021-01, and the customer name was SennarSWUG. So that's what the part has been called, because again, we were able to drive the file name rule. The number 2, we did 2021-02, Heather Hasz, again, and then 2003, SolidWorks. So what we've been able to do is build these 4 different versions, well, 3 different versions off of that primary project in minutes, where in the past you would be reopening, making changes, resaving, creating a new drawing. This has all been done automatically just by capturing some things in DriveWorks Express. So that in a nutshell is pretty much how the solution works. Again, there's a ton more information on our website, a lot of other industry examples and sample projects that are out there, and a lot more tutorials. But as you start to look at, I think Mohammed talked about doing a challenge or having some certification challenge in place for DriveWorks Express. These are the fundamental basics that you're going to go through when you work through the tutorial that's online to get the certification. So just having a look at what the tool can do, have a go at it. You already own it. See if it, work through some of the tutorials that are out there. And then by all means, there's definitely more and more of a need for design automation. People, of course, want to be more efficient in their work. And our solution's been around for SolidWorks now, again, I think we celebrated our 20th anniversary this year. And so we haven't been able to go on the road on a celebration as much as we wanted to, but that just gives us a chance to do it next year. So Mohammed, if you have anything else that you want to add or speak to your group about, by all means, you can. And if anybody has any questions, I did put my email address in the chat. So feel free to shoot me a note if you want me to send you a copy of the rules building materials or additional information on the certification, what's available. But otherwise, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You have done like a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work. So if anybody have question, feel free.
Let me paste in the link for the certification page, just in case while people are here, if they do want to bookmark it. Let me put that in, because I know you were going to put out a challenge or something for your group to go through, or otherwise.
Okay, for now, let me share my screen.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Okay, I found like some problem there. but I'm gonna announce the participation for the context. Here's some design like in this. This, and the winner for the context is Muhammad. This is his design, and he can speak to tell us his experience, how to use like SOLIDWORKS in order to provide nice things like that.
Thank you for this opportunity. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you well.
First, I want to thank Ms. Heather for the nice presentation and nice demo. Actually, I started this design yesterday after about 2 p.m. and take me 3 hours. The most hard things to me is to think about concept design. So I go to Google and search for some design of motorbikes, and after that I come with these designs. I hope this design is very good for you, and thank you for this opportunity again.
Hmm? Okay, sorry for that. If anybody has like a question, feel free.
Good job, nice.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So if there's no question, we're gonna end up the session, and we want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Any questions, by all means, jot my email down. Mohammed, you can reach me as well if anybody has any questions, or if you need additional resources or otherwise, we're available for you.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. All right.
Yeah,
Have a nice weekend, everybody. Bye now.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye.